Good day, it's March 18th, 2024. Both President Biden and Donald Trump had clinched the presidential nominations for the Democratic and the Republican Party. I'm Sam Buban. Welcome to The Pulse.
And I'm Joe Buban. Welcome to this edition of The Pulse.
President Biden already obtained a total of 2,107 delegates, while Donald Trump has now received 1,241 delegates. Those numbers are the guaranteed votes during the nomination in the respective presidential nomination conventions and will make them the official candidate in the ballot during the November general election this year. It was a busy Thursday night during the week of the Super Tuesday and the succeeding elections in various states that included Georgia, as President Joe Biden unleashed in his State of the Union address, and he delivered a daring and bold argument on his second term during his speech, beating into Republican nominee Donald Trump for encouraging resentment, revenge, and vengeance, and for compromising freedom at home and abroad. President Joe Biden used the strong State of the Union address to counter with Trump sell voters on a second term, according to an article from the Associated Press.
Reveling in the political moment, Biden fired multiple broadsides at, quote-unquote, my predecessor, without ever mentioning Trump by name 13 times, in all raising his voice repeatedly as he worked to quell voter concerns about his age and job performance, while sharpening the contrast with his all but certain November rival. The president linked Trump's praise for those who overran the Capitol in an attempt to subvert the 2020 election with anti-democratic threats abroad. Freedom and democracy are under attack both at home and overseas at the very same time, Biden said, as he appealed for Congress to support Ukraine's efforts to defend itself against Russia's 2-year-old invasion. History is watching. The State of the Union address is the spectacular night on the White House calendar, offering presidents a direct line to a captive audience of lawmakers and dignitaries in the House chamber and tens of millions of viewers at home, and now can be an online event, as Biden knew he would be watched not just for his message, but for whether he could deliver it with vigor and command.
Taking a victory lap in selling his legislative accomplishments, including funding to strengthen manufacturing of computer chips all over the U.S., Biden pivoted from his prepared script to a remarkable description at Republicans who voted against such policies but nonetheless take credit for them back home. If any of you don't want that money in your districts, Biden said, just let me know. Biden uttered with conviction. In a private meeting on Wednesday, Speaker Mike Johnson urged Republicans to show respect during the speech, but it seems a bit unsuccessful as House Republicans began to stand up and leave the chamber as President Joe Biden continued with his speech discussing raising taxes on billionaires and corporations. Meanwhile, Speaker Johnson did not show off his emotions, raising his eyebrows and occasionally rolling his eyes, while others remained in their chairs and shook their heads like to show they are not in favor of Biden's arguments. Biden also highlighted his efforts to fight shrinkflation, that companies putting fewer pretzels in the jar and less yogurt in sealed cups, like the so-called junk fees on services. Neither is the prime driver of inflation, but the White House hoped to show consumers that Biden is fighting for them. Biden's proposed budget for the emergency funds for the border migrant surges is $47 billion for 2025, as congressional Republicans have already refused to approve $13.6 billion the administration wanted for border security, and border agencies face budget shortfalls. According to NBC News, if the money is not used to address a surge, the money would be transferred to a general funds of the Customs and Border Protection Agency, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, and the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA.
NBC News first reported that Immigration and Customs Enforcement will have to start cutting key operations by May if Congress does not help cover a $500 million budget gap. The budget also asks Congress for funds to ensure that migrant children who cross the border unaccompanied are placed with relatives and sponsors as quickly as possible. In a statement, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said, "The President's budget, in combination with the Senate's bipartisan border security legislation, is vital to meeting the needs of our workforce and the challenges we face. The President's budget prioritizes staying ahead of the diverse and complex threats facing the homeland and highlights our unwavering dedication to protecting the security of the American people."
Judge Eileen Cannon, who is the judge in charge of the Mar-a-Lago case against Donald Trump in the alleged hoarding of national security documents, is again facing a firestorm of criticisms from legal experts, former jurists, and former prosecutors. In the case filed against Trump and two of his employees at Mar-a-Lago, the former president's defense attorney to make public the names of witnesses by the prosecutors against Donald Trump, a thing that is not normal in criminal cases. In spite of the strong protest by Special Counsel Jack Smith about the dangers and repercussions of such unprecedented move, and given the history of calling for violence or attacking witnesses in regular media and social media by Trump, and in spite of that protest by prosecutors and Special Counsel Jack Smith, Judge Eileen Cannon, a Trump appointee, sided with Donald Trump's wishes that witnesses' names be made public. Last week on CNN, a witness for the prosecution, dubbed in court documents as Trump's employee number 5, Brian Butler, came out publicly and declared that he was not going to wait until his name come out in the media because of Judge Cannon's decision, and will not be waiting in fear and would rather come out and tell the public the truth what his involvement was in the case. Butler told in the CNN interview that he unknowingly helped Walt Nauta, Donald Trump's personal butler, to move boxes that he was unaware they were illegally being kept in Mar-a-Lago. Judge Eileen Cannon has been criticized by many former prosecutors and jurists and legal analysts for her actions that appear to be special accommodations to Donald Trump.
In the U.S. House of Representatives, in a vote of 352 to 65 across aisles of Republicans and Democrats, vote to pass a bill to ban TikTok in the U.S. TikTok, the wholly owned Chinese company who is popular to millions of American users and worldwide, is feared by the U.S. lawmakers that it could be used by the Chinese government to spy on American users and access their personal data, and a possibility of using the platform to undermine our national security and influencing our elections with false messaging. The bill will now be headed for the Senate for approval and eventually to President Biden. In 2019, the U.S. government during the Trump presidency banned the use of the telecommunication giant Huawei, who has computer equipment and programs used in many parts of the world. All government agencies and private companies doing business with the US government were banned from using Huawei. We're going to take a short commercial break. Please stay with us.
Pure Medical Equipment provides top-notch quality medical supply equipment. Whether to rent or buy, Pure Medical Equipment and Supplies has it all.
Pure Medical Equipment is committed to serve and give back to Southern Nevada.
We deliver medical supplies and rentals to your door.
Welcome back to The Pulse. In a recent report from Al Jazeera, Israel's war on Gaza has resulted in 5 deaths as airdropped supplies hits Palestinians. 5 persons were killed by airdrop assistance crates when the parachutes failed to release, demonstrating the difficulty of delivering badly needed humanitarian help into Gaza despite Israel's restrictions. Palestinians said they want the U.S. to stop providing weapons to Israel after President Joe Biden revealed plans to construct a temporary pier on Gaza's beachfronts to allow supplies to enter. The concept has been criticized for being not realistic and a distraction. Israeli army assaults killed at least 11 individuals and injured many more in Deir el-Balah since October 7. Israel's attacks on Gaza have killed at least 30,878 Palestinians and injured 72,402. The death toll in the Israeli from Hamas October 7 strike stands at 1,139, with others still being held captive. People sheltering in a residential tower in Rafah that was bombed by Israel said they were given 30 minutes to escape, causing widespread fear and at least one pregnant woman to fall down the steps. People were startled running down the steps and several fell. It was chaos. After the building was demolished, Muhammad al-Nabris, one of the 300 residents, stated that many had left their valuables and money behind. According to al-Nabris, one of those who tripped down the stairs during the frenzied evacuation was a friend's pregnant wife. The bombing fueled fears among the Palestinians of a larger Israeli assault on Rafah, where more than half of Gaza's 2.3 million people seek refugees. 5 months into Israel's air and ground assault on Gaza, health officials claim approximately 31,000 Palestinians had been killed, with thousands of bodies believed to be buried still under the debris.
In a CNN story on Nigeria, President Clinton led condolences at the funeral of a Nigerian banking CEO who died in a California helicopter crash. French President Emmanuel Macron and former US President Bill Clinton were among those paying tribute to Nigerian banking executive Herbert Wigwe as his burial began. Wigwe was a towering figure in African finance and philanthropy, and his death sparked an outpouring of mourning. A 7-day burial ritual commemorating his life is presently underway in Nigeria's commercial metropolis, Lagos. Wigwe, his wife, and their son died in a helicopter crash in the Mojave Desert near the California-Nevada line last month. Abimbola Ogunbanjo, the former group chairman of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, was also killed in that disaster. France has lost a great friend in Herbert Wigwe, said Macron, who was represented Wednesday by French Foreign Trade Minister Frank Reister at the Night of Tributes monument for the Wigways in Lagos, Victoria Island. Former U.S. President Bill Clinton paid respect to Wigwe, stating, "Words cannot ease the pain of such a tragic loss." Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton stated that the deeply admired Herbert's commitment to a widening the circle of opportunity for young people in Nigeria and supporting humanitarian work around the world. Nigerian President Bola Tinubu had described the Wigways' deaths as an overwhelming tragedy that is shocking beyond comprehension, while Vice President Kashim Shettima offered a eulogy at the memorial on Wednesday. Wigwe has expressed how they instilled him the principles of hard labor, integrity, and dedication to others. Wigwe earned a degree in accounting from the famous University of Nigeria in Nsukka in 1987 and pursued a career in finance. He later earned a master's degree in banking and finance from North Wales University, now Bangor University in the United Kingdom. In 1991, Wigwe returned to Nigeria and began his professional career as a graduate assistant at Coopers and Librand Associates Limited, quickly climbing through the ranks. He eventually joined the Guarantee Trust Bank, GTB, where he was appointed the youngest executive director at the age of 32. During his time in GTB, Herbert developed a lasting connection and partnership with Igboje Imukwede, another emerging talent in Nigerian finance. He embarked on an enterprise that would forever alter the landscape of Nigerian banking.
Violence in Haiti escalated last week. According to the Associated Press, violence is pounding Haiti's frail economy, prompting food and water shortages. Rotting fruits, shriveled vegetables, empty water jugs, and depleted gas canisters now fill the stores and stands that served Haiti's poor, the result of persistent gang attacks that have paralyzed the country for more than a week and left it with decreasing supplies of basic necessities. The horrifying violence as anti-government gangs clashed with police on the streets has wrecked the fragile economy and make it incredibly difficult for many of the country's most vulnerable to feed themselves. The main port in the city, Port-au-Prince, shut down, leaving scores of containers full of food and medical supplies stranded at a time when UN authorities claim half of the country's more than 11 million people are hungry and 1.4 million are malnourished. Grocery stores in the upmarket areas of the city remain supplied, but their products are out of reach for the majority of people in a country where the average daily wage is less than $2 a day. People are desperate for water, said Jean Grald, who was selling scorched tomatoes and shriveled onions on a recent day, certain they would sell quickly due to the scarcity of food in portions of Port-au-Prince. Because of gang violence, people will go hungry. Next to him were rows of empty bottles that hadn't been refilled since the violence had prompted one of the country's largest bottled water operations to close. Grald observed that he was running out of items to sell because the depot where he regularly purchases rice, oil, beans, powdered milk, and bread had been set on fire and its owner stolen. As he talked, gunfire rang in the background. Since coordinated gang attacks began on February 29th, while Prime Minister Ariel Henry was in Kenya to lobby for the UN-backed deployment of East African Police Force to combat gangs in Haiti, scores of people had been slain and more than 15,000 had been displaced from their homes. However, a Kenyan court decided in January that such a deployment would violate the Constitution. Sene and his family are making do with the rice, beans, sardines, and plantains they have left, as well as a few yams and carrots. He wonders when will he be able to earn a living again, as more people become unemployed, as street sellers sell fewer basic commodities. On a recent afternoon, Gralda gave a young boy an old water bottle filled with less than a cup of cooking oil. It was all the boy's family could afford, and it was insufficient to allow Grald to continue working. If the foreign force comes in, it will give me a break to a little people like me to have life and continue fighting for a better future, he went on to say. We are going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we will be joined here at the studio by Esmeralda Padilla-Gould and our guest interviewee, Judge Cynthia Cruz. Please stick around.
Pure Medical Equipment provides top-notch quality medical supply equipment. Whether to rent or buy, Pure Medical Equipment and Supplies has it all.
Pure Medical Equipment is committed to serve and give back to Southern Nevada.
We deliver medical supplies and rentals to your door.
Welcome back to The Pulse, where we shine a spotlight on leaders dedicated to making a difference. Today, we are privileged to showcase Chief Judge Cynthia Dustin Cruz, a dedicated public servant and candidate for re-election as Las Vegas Justice Court Judge, Department 5. With a rich history of service and a steadfast dedication to justice, Judge Cruz embodies the essence of compassionate leadership and unwavering integrity. Join us as we delve into her remarkable story and explore the vision she holds for the community she serves. Welcome to The Pulse, Chief Judge Cruz.
Thank you so much for having me today.
It's really a pleasure to have you here with us, and I see you in the community and you do great things. And we thank you for your service to our community.
Thank you so much.
So before we dive into the questions, I just want to express our gratitude for taking the time to join us today. Your dedication to justice and community service is truly inspiring.
Well, let's jump right in, shall we? Chief Judge Cruz, as you seek re-election, your track record speaks volume. What achievements from your previous term are you most proud of, and how do you plan to build upon them if given the opportunity to continue serving?
So I'd say I'm really most proud of how I started working with treatment courts to help out people that are getting involved in the criminal justice system due to possibly a substance use problem. And those treatment courts were really limited in funding. They didn't have a lot of money, so that meant translating you couldn't help a lot of people. So I had never written a grant before, had no idea, and I learned how to write grants and started writing grant applications and was able to be successful and bring a couple $1 million into the court system, brand new money to help these people.
So running for re-election often involves reflecting on your past challenges. Could you share some of the hurdles you faced during your time in office, and perhaps maybe how you overcome them to better serve the community?
I remember being at Judicial College, and I was sitting next to a judge from Denver. And he was always on every break on his computer. And I finally sat there and said, what are you doing? And he said, oh, I'm on search warrant duty. And I'm like, okay, you're in Reno, Nevada, and you're doing search warrant duty, and you're from Denver. And he says, yeah, we submit everything electronically. They email the warrants to us, and then we're able to review them, so the officers aren't trying to drive to our house, trying to spend the time driving across town to the courthouse. They're able to email them to us. And I started wondering, well, why can't we do this?
That's wonderful.
So we know that transparency and accountability are crucial aspects of public service. How have you ensured transparency in your role as Chief Judge? And what measures have you taken to maintain the public's trust in the judiciary?
So a lot of the things that I've discussed is the utilization of technology, because a lot of times technology can help improve that transparency. You want to improve access to justice and access to the court systems, more public forums. So that's important to maintain not only the public trust, but the integrity.
Lastly, in a competitive election, why should voters choose to re-elect you as their Las Vegas Justice Court Judge, Department 5? What sets you apart from your opponents and makes you the best candidate to continue serving the community?
I think the most important thing is, and I think we've talked about it, experience matters. I currently have been a licensed attorney here in Nevada and in the Las Vegas community for over 20 years. I've had over 11 years in this particular seat as a judge. So I hope that I can secure their vote in November and that I can keep on the bench for another term and keep doing the work that I've been trying to do since I got elected.
Well, we wish you good luck in your current and future endeavors, and may you win this coming election.
Thank you so much.
Well, dear viewers, that concludes our insightful interview with Chief Justice Cynthia Dustin Cruz. On behalf of Uncle Sam, Joe, Sarah, and I, take care everyone, and God bless your week.